The successive Labour government, headed by Shimon Peres, continued building settlements. Settlement building is not the policy of the left or the right. It's the policy of Israel, no matter who is in office. One after the other, each and every Israeli Prime Minister since 1967, with no exceptions, contributed to the building up of settlements. In 1997, Benjamin Netanyahu shocked the Palestinians when he decided to appropriate one of the most beautiful hills of the land for the settlement of Har Humah. This was the strongest signal to the Palestinians that Oslo was not working. Oslo did not manage to dismantle a single settlement. To the contrary, Israel was taking more Palestinian land. Ironically, after 1993 and the signing of the Oslo Agreement, Israeli policy toward the settlements took a drastic turn, which led to significant growth in the settlement's size and population. During the 7 years following Oslo, the settler population within the West Bank increased by 90%. The sharpest increase occurred in the year 2000, during the term of Prime Minister Ehud Barak.
Saddam, of savages and thugs. It is hard not to read an article which does not name the former Iraqi president without the added adjective brutal. One popular black talk show host recently described the former Iraqi head of state as a, quote, thug, unquote. His comments reminded me of an article I read several years ago before the latest Iraq war, written by a Jesuit scholar who worked with the anti-war group Voices in the Wilderness. Reverend Dr. G. Simon Harak, writing in the October-November 2002 issue of Blueprint, a Loyola University bi-monthly journal, wrote tellingly of the false justifications for the then upcoming war and told of a parade of U.S. officials who came to Baghdad to support the Hussein regime. Reverend Dr. Harak writes, quote, as Saddam Hussein's human rights violations became more and more flagrant, the U.S. response was to send a parade of U.S. government representatives to support Hussein. Donald Rumsfeld, Alan Simpson, James McClure, Robert Dole, Frank Murkowski, together with U.S. Ambassador April Glaspie. Typical of their statements is one from Senator Howard Metzenbaum, announcing himself, quote, a Jew and a staunch supporter of Israel, unquote. He went on to tell Saddam that, quote, I have been sitting here and listening to you for about an hour, and I am aware that you are a strong and intelligent man and that you want peace, unquote. To quote that great American actor Keanu Reeves, whoa. I think what the honorable gentleman meant was, as long as you're whacking who we want you to whack, meaning the Iranians, you're cool with us. And Saddam Hussein did want peace, peace through war, which, with the assistance of American arms dealers on both sides, sent over 800,000 people, perhaps as many as 1 million men, women, and children of both Iraq and Iran, to the final peace of death. As long as Saddam was wreaking bloody havoc upon the Islamic Republic of Iran, he had no shortage of American friends. One wonders, if he was a brutal thug, what of those who aided, abetted, and armed him? Again, this fulsome praise of Saddam came after the horrors of poison gas dropped on Halabja, the Kurdish town. Indeed, when Iraq was lobbing chemical warfare against the Iranians, the U.S. support for Iraq went so far as the altering of U.S. law to allow U.S. companies to sell Iraq the resources for his WMDs and giving him satellite targeting support for his chemical weapons. When I hear such references to thugs or brutes or savages, I am reminded of what every American schoolchild reads by second grade, the Declaration of Independence. In this declaration, penned by Thomas Jefferson to state a claim against the British Crown for exciting the merciless Indian savages against us, who adopt a rule of warfare of undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions, the U.S. announces its basis for independence from its imperial ruler of England. This is one reason Jefferson writes why King George was unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Around the same time as Jefferson was blaming King George for unleashing the fury of merciless Indian savages upon the white settlers, a Shawnee warrior named Tecumseh was rapping with Osages in Missouri. His comments, designed to achieve Indian unity, certainly questions who were the savages. He said, "Brothers, when the white men first set foot on our grounds, they were hungry. They had no place on which to spread their blankets or to kindle their fires. They were feeble. They could do nothing for themselves. Our fathers commiserated their distress and shared freely with them whatever the Great Spirit had given his red children. They gave them food when hungry, medicine when sick, spread skins for them to sleep on, and gave them grounds that they might hunt and raise corn. Brothers, the white people are like poisonous serpents. When chilled, they are feeble and harmless, but invigorate them with warmth, and they sting their benefactors to death. The white people came upon us feeble, and now we have made them strong. They wish to kill us or drive us back, as they would wolves and panthers. Brothers, the white men are not friends to the Indians. At first, they only asked for land sufficient for a wigwam. Now, nothing will satisfy them but the whole of our hunting grounds, from the rising to the setting sun. Brothers, the white men want more than our hunting grounds. They wish to kill our warriors. They would even kill our old men, women, and little ones." That was Tecumseh speaking in the winter of 1811-1812. Who, one wonders, were the real merciless savages? From death row, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal. These commentaries are produced by Noel Hanrahan for Prison Radio.
These settlements, along with their bypass road network and security zones, occupy about 42% of the land designated for the future Palestinian state. New road construction throughout the world generally means growth and better accessibility. In contrast, roads between settlements can only be traveled by settlers. For Palestinians to drive on these roads, they must obtain special permits, which are extremely hard to get. The basic human right of freedom of movement within one's own country has been taken away from the majority of Palestinians and considered a privilege for a select few.
Here's where the highway system feeds in and the whole infrastructure, because you create a landscape in which, you're in Ma'ale Adumim, in the middle of the West Bank. Well, but with a beautiful highway, you can go to Ma'ale Adumim, you can go home and back. You work in Jerusalem, home and back in 15 minutes, with a beautiful highway, never encounter an Arab, never, God forbid, you never go through an Arab village or neighborhood or anything else. You stay completely in a Jewish-Israeli environment. So you come from Jewish Jerusalem, you go down the beautiful Jewish highway, through a Jewish landscape of the land of Israel, which is all idyllic because you don't see Arabs. You get into your Jewish dormitory suburb, go to your Jewish swimming pool at the end of the day, and everything is normal. It's banal. It's not an issue. It's not political at all.